Hey, experts listeners. I want to key you into something that we do very special here at Ops Experts Club, and that's a masterclass. We have a free masterclass called Foundations That Scale. And the great thing about this masterclass is it's for operation professionals who are growing businesses. One of the most dangerous things you can do as an operator is grow businesses on a foundations that's not stable. So in this particular masterclass, we take apart all of the inside pieces of your team, your tech, and how they're using time. And we make sure that you're building on a foundation that's stable. So if you want to check out a great masterclass completely for free, go to foundationsthatscale.com. We'll see you there.
Welcome to the Ops Experts Club with Aaron, Taryn, and Savannah. This podcast will take you behind the scenes of some of the finer details of multi-million-dollar companies. These ops experts have dealt with operations for scaling companies and well-established businesses with anywhere from small to large teams. If you've ever been deep into the details of a major company, then you know how much it takes, and these conversations are just for you. Welcome to the Ops Experts Club podcast.
Ben Clatterbuck, I feel like you're like a guest star here on Ops Experts Club, even though you used to be on almost every show with us. You remember those days?
It's bringing back the OGs. The OGs are back in town, as they say. Nobody said that, but I guess they do sometimes.
White people do. You know what I'm saying? Like they're white people that say that kind of stuff. And I'll say this is like the only thing that's a little bit sad that I don't have for you is I feel like back in those days, I used to start the show strong with like Mumford and Sons all the time. Every time, like Mumford, and they're touring. Ben, they're touring it. Could we do it? Ben, this would make my heart so freaking happy. Could you and I go see them in concert live?
I thought they broke up.
Bro, come on now. They're back because you run out of money. You know what I'm saying?
They're like, we don't have any other talents. We got to get on stage and make some money.
But I will say I've noticed the videos, they don't really openly disclose this from what I've seen, but there's only 3 of the 4. Like, I think there was a falling out, you know what I mean? I think it was like,
see, that's what it was.
You know, when the police start saying, hey, we won't travel with Sting anymore. The guy's a pain in the ass. We will not tour with that guy anymore. I kind of like, or Eddie Van Halen, or what was the Van Halen dude? David Lee Roth. I'm not going to travel with David Lee Roth anymore. The dude is a fallen psycho. Yeah, I mean, I don't know if that's what happened, but.
That's funny. Maybe that's why I thought they broke up, because somebody left the band. Yeah. And they're like, shoot, what are we going to do for cash?
That's right. Marcus is like, shit. I put out a single album and nobody wanted it. So let's go back to Mumford and Sons.
Oh my God. That's great. That is great.
Anyway, Ben Clatterbuck, I love having you on the show. Taryn Turner had to take a break today. And so I love that you would substitute in for us. I thought, Ben, you carry accounts for the Collab team all over the place. High-level retainers, mid-level retainers, project blocks, all the different ways that we help clients. You help with brick and mortars. You help with our online folks that are just doing education. I feel like all different gambit. You're a pretty well-diversified dude. Lots of compliments for Ben Clatterbuck today. So I hope that felt good. Like, hope that's a pat on the back.
Hey, no, we can just do 30 minutes of this.
I thought what we could talk about today is what makes for a successful operations team. Because I think there's a lot of frustration. What we find a lot of times Collab team is brought in because there's already existing tension or frustration between visionary and whatever iteration of operations they've got going on. You know, sometimes they don't even necessarily have an operations manager or a director of ops or a COO in place. And so it's the visionary who's typically awful at operations, trying to like juggle some skeleton crew of like task takers. And usually visionaries don't want to be micromanaged, or they actually love to micromanage, but they don't necessarily want to be managing people. You know, they want to know what's all the details going on, when they want to know it, at the rate they want to know, which is really erratic for operations, but they don't want to be managing people. That like literally drains the lifeblood out of them. So they'll bring us in and they'll be like, hey, my operation sucks. Or my operations team doesn't know what they're doing, or there's like a high level of tension and frustration. And usually that's when Collab team is brought in to kind of help with, I feel like, kind of like a translator, right? Hey, let us help you put your operational shop in order. Let us put some players of our team onto your team to help cut some of the gap, put them through our proprietary gap analyzer, and it'll show them where there are gaps on their teams, where they should hire, like how their people are performing already. But I feel like there are some clients we come into that experience incredible success, right? That we find immediate traction. We really start kicking ass and taking names like right out of the can. And there are other ones it feels like it just never fully just like finds its momentum, finds its click. We never just are able to get them to click into a gear. And I thought maybe we could talk about today, because I mean, we're under dozens and dozens and dozens of hoods every single year at the Collab team, like literally leading like dozens of level 10 meetings on all different kinds of businesses, all different kinds. I thought, why don't we give people like a sneak peek into what makes a successful operation and what causes people to really kick ass at a business that their operations isn't a pain in the ass, it's actually a flywheel and it just
Mhm.
moves really smoothly. And other ones where it's like, oh my gosh, like even us as operators, like operating at a high level all the time with organizations, there are times we're beating our head against the wall because we're not seeing the progress we want to see. So,
Yeah, no, I think just right out the gate, it always starts with the visionary, right? Like it has to start there. And I
mhm,
think there's two types of visionaries that I think cause the most strain on their operations. That's the visionary who is the hands-off visionary who says, "Hey, it's your job, go do it. I'll check in every once in a while, but you're on your own, figure it out." And then there's the visionary who's like, "No, no, 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 you can't do it right. I have to do everything."
right.
Those two types of personalities, no matter how hard you try, you can come up with, you could have an amazing operations manager. You could have, all of our top tier in there, but unless you can really crack those two personalities, you're always going to be hitting against the wall because if it's the first type, that's the completely hands off type, you need decisions made. Like you
Yeah.
can't be completely hands off. Like if we want to implement a new CRM, it requires an enterprise level purchase. Like we need
Yeah.
decisions made, especially if we're in the middle of, a product launch or we're getting ready to product launch. Like you can't just be completely off, hands off and say, "Hey, it's your job, figure it out," because like there has to be some decisions made. At the
Yeah.
same time, like if we say, "Hey, this is our plan, we're going to run with this CRM, we're going to use it to launch our new product." If you have a visionary in there who's just smothering everything and not giving you a chance to say, "Hey, back off for a second. Let me build this out. I'll show you how it's going. I'll bring you updates." But if as I'm building, you're going in there and also taking apart what I'm building and doing your own thing, like
Yeah.
it doesn't work either. So I think those are the two types at least that I see a lot of. It's like if you could just get out of your own way for a second, let us show you results, then it becomes much easier to go, "Oh, I can help make some decisions and still kind of be hands off." Or actually, maybe I don't need to smother you as much because you're bringing in really good results. That kind of frees me up to go, "Hey, I don't need to micromanage everything." I think those two personalities are always the toughest. And if you can just get a little bit in with them, then they start to see that, okay, I can trust the process. I can trust my operations team to actually bring results.
I think that that's very, very true. I think that what you've just identified in my mind is like, stay in your lane. Like, let's figure out the lane that you want to run in, visionary. And if that's you want to be hands off, that's great. Deputize somebody to make your decisions. But you
Mhm.
can't have it both ways, right? Like, you can't want to be absent. And then when people make decisions for you, you complain about them all. So be thinking about that. Like, if truly all you want to do is create content, if truly all you want to do is do sales, if truly all you want to do is whatever it is your genius is, marketing, like whatever it is that you just want to live in that and you don't want to deal with any of the rest of the stuff operationally, that's fine. Deputize somebody on your team to make decisions that's going to make decisions on your behalf. And then maybe do a visionary integrator meeting is what EOS would recommend. EOS, Entrepreneur's Operating System, from Gino Wickman's book Traction. That's what we build. Every single client we build on that premise, and we set up level 10 meetings. So deputize somebody on your team. They can run a level 10 meeting. We'll come in, we'll help you get that rolled out, but you're going to want a decision maker on your team. So that's either you or somebody you deputize. That's the
Mhm.
absentee visionary. The visionary that was once a solopreneur. They used to do it all. Maybe didn't do it great, but they sold the shit out of things, right? Like they were able to really get people to say yes. So their sales were great, but maybe where they started to fall apart was the fulfillment on the backside. Because usually visionaries are great at getting you to first base, but usually there's some fall off when it comes to follow through. So then
Mhm.
they start hiring operationally minded people, maybe. And maybe those people, there's not a director amongst them. There's not a clear leader. They were just task takers. So then visionary continually had to be kind of micromanagey or kind of in the middle of it because they were the origin. They were the one that saw the success. And so then they've got this team that they brought in. I would say in those kinds of scenarios, get very, very clear on roles and responsibilities so that you can also stay in your lane, right? Because if you continue to meddle with everything, if you continue to get your hands into all of the CRM setups and how the funnel was created, and then like what the offer is, and then on the fulfillment side of things and how customer service is handling. Like I get it. It's your business. You feel ownership. I get that, but there's a better way to do that. And that would be, let's create roles and responsibilities for the people on your team. The best way I would say to do that is put everybody through our gap analyzer, right?
Mhm.
Like just a great tool, gapanalyzer.com. I think it's like $300 or something like that. Or if you want us to roll it out for you, I think it's like $1,500, but it's like put them through an inventorying tool to determine what are they doing now. From there, decide, is that what you want them to be doing, right? Because it's a great to have one tool on one sheet that'll show you the exact spread of the entire company, what everybody's working on, and then what they feel like they could be doing less, more of, and how could they be doing it better. So if that's all rolled up one spot, it's really easy then to go in and convert those things over into a job description
Yep.
with roles and responsibilities. And then from there, it's like stay in your lane, right? So even for the visionary at that point, visionary, decide what it is that you really love most and stay in that lane. And then let's either hire out if you don't have key positions that need to be in there, or let's deputize those people to hold their people well, and then create a system where they can bring back accountability to you. So like level 10 meetings from EOS is great because then we can check in. And if you have a figurehead from each one of the parts of the organization, if there's a customer service leader there, there's a marketing leader there, if there's a sales leader there, if there's an operations leader there, we can assign specific things to each one of those people and then hold them accountable. But until you have roles and responsibilities, until you create lanes, including you, visionary, like you're always going to have this clunky, frustrating, why aren't they doing things right? Well, it's because you've trained them to be order takers and they're
Mhm.
only doing tasks as you're handing them down. And they don't have a ton of accountability to be free thinking and to bring back good answers that then you can critique and tell them attaboy, or hey, let's do this different next time. So I think really, really key to determine roles and responsibilities early on.
Yeah, and I think from all of the clients we've worked with in the past, both sides of that visionary, they may be two very different styles, but ultimately they both want one thing, and that's it always comes back to reporting. They just want to know, is stuff being done and is it being done well? The
Uh-huh.
absentee visionary, like they may be absent, but really what they want is like, I just want to know sales are going, fulfillment's working. Just give me a report on how it's working. Same with the micromanaging visionary. They are really just in there because they want to make sure that every single thing is working perfectly.
Yeah.
What EOS and L10 does really well with that is you can have both styles of those sitting in a meeting and say, here's our report, here's what's going on, here's the issues that we've run into, here's our solutions, and here how everything's working well. We have a scorecard. You can see in a glance everything's working well. So you don't need to micromanage us because we're working through everything, or because you're in your own lane, you really like, you want to be hands up with everything else. Let us just feed you a report every week. You can stay hands up. You can just jump into the meeting, look at our scorecard, see what we're doing, and you're
Yeah.
good. Ultimately, it just comes down to like, how can we get you the information that's going to scratch that itch that you have at 2 a.m. in the morning going, what are the sales numbers? Let's just
Yeah.
give you that every week and that report, and then you can keep running as the visionary and allow the operations team to do what operations team does best, and that's actually fulfill. That's running sales, it's running marketing, that's all the things that needs to be a part of your business as you're running forward ahead of it. It doesn't do well for a business, for a visionary to run forward ahead, run back, run forward, run back, run forward, run back. Let your operations team pull up the caboose on the train. You just keep going full steam ahead.
Yeah. I think that's absolutely true. Like, I think once you've established roles and responsibilities, once you've decided how to keep people in their lanes, you attach to them key metrics they're responsible
Mhm.
for that are reported on the scorecard, right? And the scorecard should just be like the top of your funnel down, right? So how are we procuring clients? You know what I mean? Like, how are our ads working? How much are we spending there? What's the click through? What's the take rate, right? Like, how are we converting those into sales? From the sales, how is that then turning into customer support ticketing? How are they doing on fulfillment side of things? Like, how are we doing with customer complaints? How are we doing with failed payments? How are we doing with disputes? Like, how is our social media energy working in general on the posts that we're doing that's attracting as lead magnets? Like, all of those things should be coming through your scorecard. And each one of those numbers, there are some of those numbers that are marketing numbers. There are some of those numbers that are sales numbers. There are some of those numbers that are customer service numbers. And you can put names next to all of these key metrics that are telling the story of your business. Once you decide what are the key roles that each one of these people should be doing,
Mm.
and then what are the key metrics that they, as the leader of their part of the organization, are going to have to report on. And like, let's get really clear on what our goal is for that metric. And are we successful in that metric? And, some of our more, like, I would say, even developed out scorecards, some of our clients have even gone with like a red light, green light system where
Okay.
there are rules set to each column where it's like, if this column here that is our weekly reporting is out of line with what our goal is, if it's too low, it goes red. If it's that number or above, it turns green. And so then you have a really easy, like, you can look down the column and think, okay, so the things that are green, you probably don't have to have a lot of conversations with, but let's have a conversation around the things that are red,
Yeah.
And I think that just having that simple who owns what, and then let's hold them now accountable to that. Because this is what I found is, unlike you, Mr. Visionary, Miss Visionary, your operations people, they really want to know what's the scope of their role and how do they know they're doing it well. Like for
Hmm.
that, for you, you're just like, I just want to make sure shit gets done. Like, I just want to make sure things are covered. I don't want to get in all the minutia. I don't care about all that stuff you would say, but what you want is results. Well, you're not going to get to the results unless you're operation based people whose brain works a lot different than yours. They need to know, yeah, but what does success look like? And that looks like, these are my roles and I'm doing them right. And these are my metrics and I'm performing well on my numbers. And that in the end is what you want. And so, Ben, you're absolutely right. How can I just get a quick snapshot of how's the business doing week over week? The best way to do that is create a scorecard and assign those numbers to people on your team that will own it and own it for better or for worse, right? They're performing well, not performing well. So then you can think about, how do I want to reward them for good behavior?
Yep. Yep. Yeah. And exactly that. Break it out departmentally. I mean, I think we tend to, especially visionaries, tend to want to over complexify their business.
Uh-huh.
But if you can just take like a 30,000 foot view and look at your business and say, my business is marketing, sales, fulfillment, support. So four
Yeah.
pillars of my business. Just like you said, how am I acquiring customers? How am I pulling in dollars? How am I fulfilling on the product I've sold, and how am I supporting my customers when they buy the product?
Yeah.
If you can strip your scorecard down to, those are my four pillars, those are my four departments. Here's what makes each one of those departments successful. Marketing, people are coming in the door. Sales, people are buying. Fulfillment, people are getting what they bought.
Yeah.
Support, people are getting help on the product they bought. If you can just narrow your vision down to that, and then you say, okay, I've got these four departments, I've got these four sections on my scorecards. Here's the three things, the five numbers that I think makes each of these departments successful.
Yeah.
Then it's just a matter of, as we grow, we plug and play, add more, add more. I'm $1 million company. I need a person in each of those departments. Maybe
Yeah.
one person could be two departments. I'm a $5 million company. I'm a $10 million company. I'm a $20 million company. Okay, now my support team needs 10 people, 15 people, 20 people. My sales team, I need more than just one sales guy. And so I would encourage people, don't over complexify it. Yes, there's going to be intricacies in each of those departments. Marketing has to know whether they're going to market on Meta versus LinkedIn. Sure, but that's why you have a department head. And that's
Mhm.
why you have those KPIs in your scorecard that say, okay, my department head is successful this week on our scorecard. Don't over complexify it, because then again, as soon as it starts getting super complex, that visionary goes, I can't do this. I can't do this. I have to micromanage everything, or I can't do this. You guys figure it out. I don't bother me. Just do your job. And then it
Yep.
starts ballooning like that. So keep it simple. Those four departments, keep your scorecard tied directly to those. And that weekly report it's much easier, and it takes that frazzle out of the visionary's brain.
And I will say that's absolutely right, Ben. That's a really clean way to lay it out too. I will say where operations fits into all that is, you probably are going to need somebody to help organize all of that, right?
Hmm.
Like, so be thinking on your team, like, you're probably going to have a cost that may or may not be represented completely on your scorecard. You can still have key metrics you hold them accountable to, but like, if I have four departments like that all have people represented in them, those people all need to get paid, right? So I'm going to have some sort of payroll system, some sort of finance, right? You're going to want to make sure you're profitable, right? So somebody that's going to be looking at your books, right? Somebody that's going to be helping you with HR, like onboarding people, offboarding people, keeping probably your internal files organized on the drive or however you keep your stuff organized, holding people accountable when they say they're going to do something. If you visionary don't want to do that kind of stuff, which most visionaries don't, you're going to need an operator of some sort. And I would always say, like, personally, like grow them internally, like hire them as a manager,
Mm-hmm.
raise them up as a director and then as a COO, but don't start by just hiring a COO out of the can. Like, let's find somebody sharp who's been doing this for a while that might be willing to take a lower rate of pay because the position is lower, maybe the demand isn't as high, and then have them grow internally with you. And then you're going to feel better about like, how are they saving you on your technology budget? You know, because
Mm-hmm.
probably you've been subscribing for things since the dawn of time that you're paying for, that they could probably save you thousands of dollars by just going through your Amex card and determining what you've been paying for that you shouldn't be paying on before. But you're not going to do that. Let's be honest, you're not going to do that. And let's also be honest, your bookkeeper doesn't know your business well enough to be able to do that for you. You're going to probably need somebody that's operational that can kind of help wed all those things together. A lot of times that's where we'll come in and help teams, is like hold that spot for them, help them find somebody that's permanent in that spot. But I will say this is, and this is where I think is one of the biggest kingpin that has to be determined, is you need some way to determine communication with your team,
Mm-hmm.
you know? And I will say it's probably going to be a meeting, right? A weekly meeting. We would advocate for level 10 by EOS because it's a system. It's probably best you visionary don't run that. You're probably going to want an operator to run, right? And then they need to hear from you. They're going to need to hear from you at some kind of cadence. So if you're absentee visionary, great. They're going to need some sort of like visionary integrator meeting, right? Integrator is just EOS's word for like an ops manager. They're going to need some sort of like download from you to be able to run your team right. If you're a very present and you have the tendency to be micromanaging a little bit, visionary, you're going to need to back off and allow that operator to find their slot, right? To get in the lane, but they need you still to be communicating. So I would say if you could just get into your brain, I get it. You don't like meetings. I get it. Meetings drain the lifeblood out of you, or you have the tendency to take over and preach at your people for a half hour, which also is not a good look. It's not a good way to lead a meeting, but like, make sure you're making yourself available to have the necessary communication for balls to move forward once you plug all these pieces in. Because if you don't communicate with people, that's the other thing I would say, Ben, that we experience a lot of pain in. People hire us in, they'll just be like, oh, you do operations? Awesome. Handle it. But then we
Mm-hmm.
don't hear enough from them. And then it makes it really hard because they haven't really deputized us to make decisions. So it just, if we don't have good communication, it makes it really hard. So set up a weekly meeting, just show up once and then trust your operator to be able to execute your vision based on that. You know,
Yep.
that's the way I would recommend.
I think that's a secret sauce for every operator being able to be successful. Because the worst thing that you want to do is say, I need an operations manager. I need operations going smoothly. And you go out and hire somebody, and then they're just stuck in the mud because they're like, what do you want me to do? You said you want me to fix your operations, but I've got all these decisions that need to be made. I don't really know, what you're doing over here. Can I get some information? You can't just, start paying somebody a salary and not nurture them along, especially if you've gone the route like you suggested not to do and just pluck somebody out of, an Indeed, hiring spree and drop them
Yeah.
into your organization. Like, you need some sort of, 3-6 month onboarding with that person at the very least to get them used to your organization. That's why, of course, we always recommend, you have that smart person who you can raise up, because at least they know how your organization runs, and it's a little bit less of an on-ramp. But you can't just say, an operator is to come in and fix my business and I don't have to really do anything else. Like, you do have to be somewhat hands-on with that person and communicate, like you said, but you also do need to give them the room to make decisions.
Yeah. Yeah. So I would say, probably summing up the whole show, if you want a successful operation, like if you want a successful operations back end operations shop, like this is what I would say is get really clear on the role you want to play, visionary. Like bring somebody in, whether it's us or someone else, like to help you determine the lanes, right? Do the gap analyzer, determine your roles and responsibilities, assign some key metrics, begin to do a weekly meeting that's got a cadence, right? Like a level 10, EOS level 10, so communication can happen. And then make sure you realize that to infrastructure up, it's probably going to take a little bit of investment of time for you with whoever the key person is, whether it's us, you hire us, or you hire somebody internally. They're probably going to need a little bit of your time on a weekly basis outside of the level 10 meeting, where they can just get a download from you so that they can execute based upon your vision. That's what's going to pull you out of the weeds. And then back away and let them do their job. Whether they succeed or they fail, you're going to have them on a tight leash because it's a once a week meeting you're doing anyway. You're going to see how they're performing on a weekly basis, but give it 4, 6, 8 weeks to really see if they're going to get traction and move your business forward. So that's what I'd recommend. Ben Clatterbuck, thank you for being an excellent substitution for Taryn Turner, don't tell him, but you're a little bit better looking. And appreciate you being with us today here on Ops Experts Club, my man.
Yes, sir. Glad to be here. We'll talk later.
Awesome. Talk later, Ops Experts. See you next week.
Thank you for tuning in to the Ops Experts Club podcast. New episodes available every week on Spotify, iTunes, and everywhere you listen to podcasts. If you're curious about how some of the biggest names in entrepreneurship have scaled their businesses to the next level, check out some of our best content on this topic by going to foundationsthatscale.com. You can find the link in our bio and do your part to improve as an ops expert.